to kind of get going here. So we'll go presentation mode, share screen. This one.
There's only like 2 teams so far with notes in the speaker notes, so just keep an eye out for those.
Okay, word. See if those speaker notes decide to show up for me. I'm going to go with these going.
I'm hyped for 294, Grant. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
My friend Jonah, who I went to 292 with, is going to, and he invited me, but I couldn't swing that much money for the event.
Wait, he's going to
294.
Abu Dhabi?
Yeah. Wait, no. Oh, shoot. No, you're actually right. He invited me to 295 at Madison Square Garden.
That's where John Jones, right? That one's gonna be super expensive.
Yeah. I don't know why I was confusing that with the Abu Dhabi card. I feel like I've been doing that on the UFC pods, being like, what's next? 290, 295.
Find out what's next on. Give these half a second, though. Yeah, I don't understand how fantasy hockey works, even like remotely. I don't know what's valuable. I don't know who's valuable. I don't know who's not.
Yeah, it's just like I've never even watched. I don't think I've ever watched more than like a couple playoff games during a hockey season in my entire life.
We'll have to have a reason to get into it, though. Supposedly defense gets a lot of fantasy points.
I do fantasy Premier League with my friends from school. It's pretty fun.
I do
It's like
fantasy
entirely
Prem as
different.
well.
Yeah.
Do you do the type league where you like rotate players in and out every week? Like you have like 3
You
transfers.
get 2 transfers. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how I play it too.
Like everybody is the same guys, basically. Or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
5 of the same players. Yeah.
Like everyone has Haaland. Like you can't not have Haaland. Yeah.
Let's see here. Would you prefer to have Aaron Jones or Derrick Henry? While we get this started here.
Probably Aaron Jones. I don't know. That's a weird one.
Interesting.
I mean, they're kind of like the same for me, and I kind of, in the sense that I also kind of view like AJ Dillon and Tyjae Spears as like similar level RB2s to both of them, you know? True. AJ might have a little bit more gas in the tank, but Derrick Henry is like the more proven running back, pretty even.
Would you prefer to have James Cook or Mixon?
Mixon.
Maybe, I don't know. I think James Cook is better, but the offense Mixon is in, I feel like means that he's going to get more touches just based on the quarterback play so far. And I mean, Josh Allen, when you're around the goal line, he's going to be the guy that's going to be having the ball in his hands most of the time. But
yeah, maybe my decision will be different like halfway through the season after Joe Burrow hopefully flips the script. But
and what is your stance on the Kyren Williams situation now that he is out for a week?
I mean, I'm not too big on him in general. Like, I think his value has been inflated, and this last week is probably bringing it back down to right about where it should be. Like, I think he's still like viable for sure, like good running back. It's just like I think his value is more accurate now that people are realizing he's just like a regular running back.
I think Zach Evans could be good.
Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely one of the waiver guys this week.
They also brought back what's his name? Darrell Henderson, which I don't know if that really plays a factor, but he at least knows the offense.
True.
Are you fine starting Ford this week? I mean, in theory, yeah, but I kind of liked what we saw from Hunt this week. It makes me seem like there's a chance that he becomes the lead back there. But for now, I think you still can. I mean, the rushing attack is good.
Yeah, I think this week Ford and Hunt are probably both like spot starts just because we did see a flash of improvement from Kareem Hunt, or his old self, I should say, probably. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think they're both like spot starts. Like if you really need to put them in your lineup, but definitely not a
Do
full
we think
go.
Jonathan Taylor will start averaging 18 plus a game? No. I think he'll be like 12 plus, maybe 13 plus, but I think Zach Moss is a better complimentary dude than he's had there before. So I think Zach Moss will continue to take some of the workload. I don't think he's relevant on his own. I think Jonathan Taylor's a guy you can still comfortably start, but I don't have him as like a top 10 guy week in, week out type thing. What do you think about that, Wells?
Yeah, I think that's fine in general. Like, it's just going to take time, like what you're pointing out with Jonathan Taylor. I am very curious to see how, like, it's just kind of hard to wrap my brain around everything because it's like, okay, we're telling people to theoretically sell out of Kyron, but at this point, like, there's like, what, 6 running backs actually healthy left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind
No,
of.
it's definitely a weird one.
Who are the other running backs on the
more
waivers you guys are
valuable than I
looking
would
at
think.
besides like Zach Evans as a replacement for Kyron?
Jordan Mason / Elijah Mitchell potentially. Jordan Mason's got kind of the bulk of the workload so far in the backup role this year, but Elijah's been banged up and stuff. I still think he will out touch Mason this week if McCaffrey's out.
Yeah. Elijah was saying it was because of practice, right? He didn't practice at all last week.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
At least that's the word on the streets, as
On
they
the
say
block.
it. On the block. But we'll go ahead and get started here now that we've let them listen to us ramble for a little bit now. So we have our first team here. Let's make sure I can see this appropriately.
Oh, well, that's a good way to start it out.
We create the Mona Lisa around here. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so we got Dak Prescott, Saquon Barkley, Isaiah Pacheco, Amari Cooper, George Pickens, Samuel Porter, Najee Harris, CeeDee Lamb's on a bye, and you have 2 open spots on your bench, albeit one of them is probably for Miles Sanders. Always prep a defense to kind of be 1 week ahead if you're ever in this situation. Can't really trade anything out. Najee Harris is a fine flex option for CD being up, but like more often than not, that's having to be George Pickens, and I don't really want George Pickens to be that guy for me. So currently, you're kind of stuck in a situation here that you can't really move out of.
Yeah. And you definitely need to pick someone up off the waivers. Like it is a fine replacement based on the people you have, Najee, but just pick someone off waivers who's projected to score like 11, 10, 12. There's definitely some people left there that probably have better upside than Najee against the Rams.
Yeah. But other than that, there's not really too much to say about this team because it's like you can't really move too much of your theoretical depth around either. So we'll just see how it plays out. Doesn't look like you're in too great of a spot, but you'll have to pick up a quarterback. Let's see here. Trevor Lawrence, Bijan Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco, Amon St. Brown, Jalen Waddle, TJ Hawkinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Olave, Chiefs defense, and Jason Sanders. Flip this like so.
I'm liking it. They just need a better RB2.
Yeah. I even like Isaiah Pacheco at this point. Like, I wish that, like, I had more. Like, in theory, try to upgrade your first flex with Ramondre, but, like, you can't really get too much better at this point in time because of, like, how the whole market's playing out. Like, nothing's really stayed consistent from a health standpoint. It's like you have a healthy team, so at this point you're kind of winning, and a lot of these are like high-end assets.
At what point do we start to think that Cortland Sutton's like guaranteed touchdown and 5 catches in the fourth quarter is just like
A thing.
good and that he's somewhat fantasy relevant? Because he does seem to
I
find
think
a way to get to like 12 points every game, even though he will like start the game horribly.
Dude, it's definitely good after this Judy stuff. Like, now that Cortland's going to be unleashed, and they're like, Russell and the rest and the game script is going to go towards him fully being the wide receiver one. I think we're going to see increased production from his like savior touchdown at the end of the game.
Yeah, he's just getting a lot of garbage time, which is really good for his like safety net. I am curious to see how this game against Green Bay goes because there's a lot of pieces that should go off for the Packers here. It's just a big question of whether or not that's truly going to be happening. I also don't know how much I do or don't like Cortland Sutton against the Packers because it's like if Jair plays, I don't like him against Jair, but theoretically shouldn't Judy be the guy getting covered by him? I really don't know.
Who knows anymore?
Yeah. No one knows, Grant. No one knows. Outside of that, going back to this team, it's a fine team. You've got upside pieces that you're chasing here. It's just like we're kind of in a bleh period of fantasy football where we're just kind of floating along. And this is a very good team, but it's like you can't really sell Ramondre to improve it. I think Olave is going to get better. Waddle's going to get better. Amon-Ra is going to get better. Like, a lot of these are just really strong pieces.
Definitely solid.
And TJ Hawkinson, I just think is probably going to be the tight end one at this point. But moving forward, Jordan Love.
Wells, real quick, if you're looking to get your team rated like this, go ahead and hit the link in our bio, which is for our Discord. And once you're in there, send me at Jamario Moon a direct message, and I'll get you set up to get your team on the stream. And we'll give you some advice for week 7.
Mm-hmm. Get you guys prepped accordingly, but once again, you gotta join the Discord. The link to that is in the bio. We are getting a consistent question from our guy Harville here: what to do with D Hop? Do you guys have any plans for exactly how you're going about the DeAndre Hopkins situation?
What's the
not really. I mean, their pass offense, if there's no Tannehill, obviously takes a step down, but it's not like Tannehill has been that elite either. And like, I mean, their tight end room isn't anything special, and D Hop is a vet, so it seems like with either one of the young guys they choose to go forward with, they will both be using D Hop as kind of a safety blanket as a bigger receiver. I would expect some like deep targets and stuff like that to go away a little bit.
Do you think Tajay's role improves drastically here? Because typically mobile quarterbacks don't feed their
I would guess
running backs a lot, but like Tajay's kind of been in that receiver role almost for them.
I would guess both running backs get a bigger role here if we see no Tannehill for an extended period of time. But I think both the young quarterback options are going to be targeting D Hop a lot, just as a like safety blanket, like I said, because there's nobody else really that they can trust to just kind of throw the ball up to. But the deep routes could go down a lot just because I'm not too confident with Malik Willis being able to connect on long shots down the field, but we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like part of the hype, like with Hopkins going into the season 2, was that we would see some sort of like sustainability from Tannehill, which we just really haven't. So, and D Hop is still proven to be like, he's still like has been flex worthy the whole season, regardless of what has been going on. So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. But looking at this next team here, this is just a very, very solid team. Like, it's just solid all around. Like, I don't really know what to theoretically critique for this roster.
Are you worried about Rachaad White going forward? I mean, he's been super inefficient on the ground, and he's only scored 1 touchdown, I think, so a little bit to be concerned with there.
Yeah, like, the inefficiency of Rachaad White is fine. I just look at it and, like, he's one of the few running backs that's still around, and the team itself isn't terrible. So, like, I'm not really against him at this point. I do agree he is inefficient, but it's like he's a fine fill-in for Derrick Henry at this point. Yeah, in theory, build up the running back too here.
I just got a live trade offer in a league, and
Ooh.
Let's go.
it is horrendous. I get Michael Thomas, and I give away Jahmyr Gibbs.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know why I was proposed that.
I offered somebody, this guy's a Falcons fan in my league, so I was like, okay, I'll give you Drake London, you give me Aaron Jones. He countered with Aaron Jones for Amon St. Brown. I was like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work, unfortunately. But I didn't think it was that bad of an offer. But you never know.
Depends on positional need. That's not that bad. Michael
Uh,
Thomas to me is nothing.
So Cam has been spamming this in our chat for quite some time now. So let's give this a whatchamacallit, response back. Jerome Ford or Amari Cooper? Who would you prefer to have?
Amari Cooper, in my opinion. I mean, the running backs are like short right now, yeah, but Amari Cooper's just like, I mean, he's a top tier wide receiver, and I think once Deshaun's back, he'll be back into rhythm. They have a decent schedule. Like,
Yep. And Jackson, do you want to tell them how exactly do they get into the Discord here to get their team rated?
yep, all you have to do is hit the link in our bio, and once you're in there, you just DM me at Jamario Moon, and I will help get your team set up and on the live stream tonight.
Right on. I'm not worried about Bijan. Like, it's just gonna happen. Some games and it's not like the overall just passing volume is what kind of keeps him afloat. It just don't really know how to verbalize it any better other than Arthur Smith is a weird creature that we don't really know how to explain. But it's going back to this team here. I think it's fine. There's not really too much you can or can't do with this team. It's just like your RB2, like Grant was pointing out. Like Rachaad White isn't particularly ideal. Derrick Henry isn't the most ideal, but they're fine to fill in for one another here and there. And there's a decent chance Henry gets traded. That's why I'm also not fully out on him, but I'm also not necessarily in.
Do you think Devontae Smith has a chance to pick it up and kind of close off this year like he did last year with a ton of huge games? And do you think that's still in play, or do you think that his role is just kind of a little bit different than it was last year?
My issue with players like Devonta Smith is not that, one, they're very, very, very talented. But the issue in terms of fantasy is, if you're a wide receiver 2 on your team, there's going to be a lot of weeks where you have, 4 or 5 fantasy points. Because you're just not the main target. And then, it goes back and forth. That's why these pieces are better for, best ball more often than not. So I do think that Devonta Smith is going to have more weeks than not that he's doing fine. But those weeks where he's getting you 18 to 20 plus fantasy points, AJ Brown's averaging probably 6 to 7. He's just not really going to be doing as much, and I think that's just going to continue to go back and forth. I believe your name is but yes, you have to DM our guy Jackson here at Jamario Moon, and he'll tell you exactly how to get it rated on the stream.
Wells, Grant's also about to pin a comment, or comment the instructions if you could pin it.
Word. Is there a way to do that on the TikTok stream here?
I believe so, once Grant comments it.
I don't think there is.
Oh, you can't pin on TikTok streams? I thought that was a thing for sure.
No, they got rid of that type of stuff.
Well, I'll just be in here and I'll just be answering questions if people have any, so I can just keep
no problem.
that same thing. It's all good.
To see if there's any way to. No, I don't see it at the moment, at least. But overall, going back to this team, I do like this team. Just think there's some inconsistency portions of it in terms of the RB2 slot. In theory, try to trade out of that, but you're kind of in a bye week, so you need to hold a little. But I'd be focusing on trying to build up this RB2 a little bit further because you can realistically move things around. And I like Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, Mike Evans as receiver options along with Nico Collins. Just you can move this around a lot. Let's see here. Brock Purdy, Austin Eckler, Jeff Wilson. You believe he is playing, it seems. A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Logan Thomas, Christian Watson, Kyron, and Devonta Smith on the bench with an open spot for Achon. Like the running back spot's weak here, but in theory you have Jeff Wilson coming in to be a filler for Kyron, who's been stable. I mean, you're just very deep at wide receiver, and here I wouldn't mind upgrading for a better running back that can fit in my flex spot for when I need it. You do have Achon and Kyron technically chilling on injury reserve kind of here, but that's going to take a little bit of time to kind of fill that gap. But that's the only thing I would really advise for this specific team. I think it's fine. Tight end room can always be better, but it's not always going to be, unfortunately,
Yeah.
ideal.
This is kind of why we were recommending to sell off of Kyron Williams last week, just because I mean with the injury now and some younger guys getting a chance, who knows, like if one of them pops off, it's not like Kyron Williams has showed any particular elite abilities as a running back. He's more just been a guy that's serviceable and hasn't fumbled too much. So I mean, at this point, after the injury, I could easily see the backfield being split up more, assuming some of these guys take advantage of the role they're being given. Yeah, I mean, if you need wins now, you could potentially sell Achon now, just because I think he's gonna slot right back into that same role. Once he's back from injury, we saw Mostert obviously have a huge week. Hopefully, for your sake, Jeff Wilson Jr. can kind of take some of that workload this upcoming week, but who knows?
What do you think of Chris Evans likely stepping into a very large role for this Rams team this Sunday? Are you in on the idea of Chris Evans, or are you out on him?
Is it Zach or Chris?
Is it Zach? I generally don't know. I just think Evans.
I think it's Zach.
It could be Zach.
He was
Yeah,
at
Zach.
TCU
That's Zach,
for 3 years, and then I think he was Ole Miss's running back last year. He's a smaller guy. He's super elusive and quick. I mean, he doesn't seem to offer too much that Kyron doesn't, but I think he'll be involved in the passing game a little bit, like Kyron has been. So I think he's a guy in deeper leagues that you need to at least give a shot and start. If you're in like a free agent with a budget format, I'm not sure how much I would be comfortable giving up, just because the Kyron thing doesn't seem like more than just a little knock, and he should be back soon-ish. And it's unclear to see what role Zach will have after that, but I would expect him to have a decent or solid week this week for sure.
True. Yeah, I'm curious to see exactly how that's going to pan out. Just such a weird injury-riddled season to where you're really having to manage your team heavily, which is entertaining. But overall, I do like this team, just like the running back thing. It's the only thing that you need to technically build on here. And I like tight end isn't the most guaranteed spot you have here, but you have a bunch of decent options. Watson, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, Darren Waller, Ramondre, Christian Watson. And I wouldn't say these are nobodies, but nobody of relevance for the moment. JSN, I do think, is going to become more relevant past this rookie bye.
Speaking of rookie receivers, is it fair to say that Quentin Johnson has to be one of the worst first-round receivers we've seen in a long time? I mean, he's on pace for 90 yards on the season, and the wide receiver too, with a similar body type to him, has been out since week 3 or something, and he hasn't had any more production post Mike Williams injury.
All I said was to fade that man.
6'5" for nothing.
6'5" for nothing. The development is clearly not there. But we'll see exactly how it goes. Kind of moving forward here. It's just. It's just interesting to see how many of these flexes are Ramondre Stevenson and Christian Watson. I think this is like the third time in this stream alone that we've seen that. I like the team.
What'd you think of Keontae Ingram's workload? I know we talked about last week. I said that he was more the guy to target than DeMercado, and it seems like that's the case at least. I think somehow DeMercado outsnapped him, but only had 3 times touching the ball compared to like 14. So I kind of like the role that Keontae took on this week.
How many points did he get again?
Like 7 or 8,
Okay.
but without a touchdown. He had like 4.5 yards per carry, 50-ish yards. Caught a couple passes. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, but it seemed like he will definitely be the guy in the backfield for the next few weeks at least.
Yeah.
So in deeper leagues, yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's just like having to like basically comprehend the thought. It's like, well, I have to put Keontae Ingram in a flex spot is insane to me to process at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how deep your league is.
Albeit, like, I have no running backs in one of my leagues this week, so
Yeah.
it's like,
Bunch of buys this week.
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he had a better week than Christian Watson this week, but who knows?
Looking at this team, though, there's not really much I would do. In theory, I would try to build up my flex a bit more, but, like, you're just kind of waiting it out for a lot of these pieces. Let's see here. See if this is your mom's refrigerator, because I feel like this might be his team for some reason. But not really much. I do like this team overall. It's just like, yeah, this is your team. Okay, I had a feeling. Yeah, it's just like you're kind of waiting for your flowers to grow, if that makes sense. Like you're not really able to do much. This is really strong for a 14-man.
Yeah, no, this looks awesome.
Yeah, this is more than fine in a 14-man. Just wait for the flowers to grow and then try
I
to
assume
improve
your
your flexes if
record
you can.
is not great because of Taylor and Cup, but
yeah.
but this is a team that could easily string together like 5 wins in a row or something. So
Mm-hmm. In worst case scenario, you can always like invert out a cup, which I don't recommend doing but it is a technical option. Moving forward, though.
what a bench!
Yeah, that's. Sorry, I'm dumbfounded at the moment. Yeah, so it's not in proper order. Is the only like real difference because you have 2 flex spots, one of which isn't even filled. It also looks like 2. No, it's same platform.
I assume he's gonna be picking someone up maybe because all those guys on the left can't play this week, obviously.
Yeah.
Who are some guys you're looking at on waivers other than the guys we touched on already? Any receivers or?
Not necessarily, because I feel like the receiver room is kind of calmed down until like the trade deadline happens, and then like some people are going to be more in important roles, whereas others are just going to be completely irrelevant. But looking at this team, I would go ahead and try to get Zach Evans. That you guys have corrected me towards. It's Zach Evans. And put him in this flex spot here, trying to see what else, because that's all you can really try to do with this roster is put things in off the flex if that's even possible.
But I would hope your team has been off to a great start though. I mean, I guess Jamar's been a little slow to start out, but you still have Bijan and Puka and AJ Brown's been on a tear. So
This team's cracked.
Even
like,
if you lose this week, you're not in that bad a spot.
yeah,
I wonder
cracked.
this team should definitely hop on some 2-for-1s though potentially because I mean you have at least 3 of those or 2 of those guys starting on your bench normally. So those are guys that
I don't even know if
other
you need
people
to
are going to
do
be
that.
comfortable starting.
Because like you put in CD and Chase, and then like Derrick Henry theoretically is sitting on your bench, or Aaron Jones, one of the two. That's
And then
not
you have
fun.
yeah.
If
Fair.
anything, like try to invert out of this. Like this team's cracked. Like Jesus, just have to stay healthy. That's all this team needs. Let's see here. We got Allen, St. Brown, Pittman, Eckler, Kyron, Mark Andrews, DK Metcalf, with Ridley and Myers on the bench. I mean, this is a very strong team here. The only thing I would try to do is build a bit more solid running back 2 here. Just because that's the only theoretical issue now that you have. but you can slide in Cook or White. But I like something better / more consistent. I think your receivers are very, very strong. And I'd be fine parting ways with not really any of them, but if I needed to, I wouldn't be opposed to it to build up this RB2 slot a bit further. But that's really about it for me.
Yeah, I think this team's really good. The wide receiver room is cracked.
What are you talking about, Andy? That's how everyone is able to get their actual team rated in here. It's an app called Prediction Strike, but banned Andy will be banned. If I can figure out how. Ah, block. There we go.
Hell yeah.
It says I blocked Andy. I like that. That's funny. Anyways, yeah, L Andy in chat. I agree. But yeah, really nothing else to really kind of push forward there with. Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Jalen Waddle, Jameson Williams. This has to be a very, very, very deep league to look like this.
Well, they have Debo there.
Yeah, they have Debo, but
they got DH and Eckler too. Those are two first round picks.
And they have Jalen Waddle.
Yeah. It's like a 12 man.
I guess it's
Hurts.
not as it's just JMO is questionable to me.
Yeah, just start Debo.
This dude's got Chase Claypool.
He's here for the memes.
0.58 point projection.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That might actually be too high of a projection.
I think it's interesting that he went with Bryce Young. That was his initial super flex option. That's definitely interesting.
Yeah,
I
mean,
think
I
this
had
has
higher
to be
hopes for him.
somewhat deep, though. Hurts was a first round pick. Guess the rest wouldn't be as much. I don't know. I just think
it's
there's
not
a
bad
bigger
team by any
story to
means.
this team. Because JMO and Bryce Young for your other picks means you must have super punted the quarterback position.
Yeah, you have that bench slot open. You're gonna need to be picking up a Jordan Mason or a Zach Evans or someone like that, just because Henry's on bye. Also, just start Debo over JMO. I mean, the deep threat will always be there, and sometimes you'll be upset that you didn't start JMO because he'll have a 60-yard catch. But aside from that, he's not the biggest part of the offense. He more just helps open things up for other guys because you have to respect that speed there. But he's not going to be catching the ball more than 3 or 4 times a game. So I'm fine starting London, but I would just slot Debo in there and then try to get a guy off waivers that you can throw in at running back for this week or the couple weeks while Achon's out, I guess.
Jackson, people are wondering exactly how they get their team rated.
All you got to do is go to the link in our bio in Twitter and just join the Discord there. My username is @Jamaria Moon, and all you have to do is send me a direct message, and I'll get you all set up for the stream tonight.
And he's referring to Discord, not Twitter. Don't worry.
Oh,
we won't send you
Twitter.
there.
Yep, Discord.
There we go. Right on. But overall, I like this team. It's just that's the only spot that's a little weird. I'd say to try to improve your other super flex here, but you can't really even do that here. It's a weird position that you have yourself in, and I wouldn't really try to pivot too far out of it either at this rate. Just because yeah, I don't know, weird spot. I would have tried to trade Tyrod Taylor in that little short bust. Oh, I yeeted Andy Garrett, by the way. I mean, Grant. I got rid of Andy. I said goodbye. But moving forward here. We got Herbert, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Cooper Kupp, Puka, Jake Ferguson, David Montgomery, Brett Maher. With just a lot of this team on the bye, which is fine. I think Quentin Johnson is droppable to fix your tight end issue here for this week. I just don't think that you need him on your roster. overall, I really like the roster though. Like, in theory, I can't even say like to really sell anything. Like maybe sell for a higher end wide receiver behind like, but like I don't know. Like I just really like this team. Maybe the tight end position is where I'd focus my equity position.
Yeah, you have good receiver depth, and I like the guys that are starting. We talked about this before, but having Cup with Puka there just kind of lowers your ceiling a little bit because it's hard for both those dudes to have huge games at the same time. But I think eventually you'll probably be starting T there once he's settled in, and I mean Nico's had a good year, and Josh Palmer honestly looked really good last night as well. So plenty of options on bye weeks and ways to maneuver this one. This week I would be starting Josh Palmer in that Montgomery slot, assuming he doesn't play, which it's looking likely.
So we shall see. But that's really about it. Nothing too crazy. In theory, build up your wide receiver spot here along with your tight end a bit further.
Sorry, I was doing stuff on Discord, so I wasn't really listening to this one. Is DJ starting this week? Like Deontay Johnson?
He's eligible to come off of the IR. I'm not sure if anything's been put out regarding like if he's totally ready or what his role will be or if he's on a snap count or anything like that.
I just stay away from those guys personally.
Yeah, I would sit him for a week or something, but he is eligible to be active.
Yeah.
I just tend to wait 1 week, rather see exactly kind of how it plays out, and then move from there. Because once I have an idea of like exactly how it's actually supposed to be, then I can move accordingly. Let's see here. But overall, I think it's a fine team. Let's check out the rest of these guys. See if maybe these stacked on top of one another. That happens occasionally. Yep.
Sorry about that.
You Gucci. You can see our amazing teamwork here. Bam. We got Deshaun Watson, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Monter St. Brown, Chris Olave, Evan Ingram, and Brandon Ayuk, who I think is somebody to realistically be trading for at this point. Especially with everything that's going on with Debo. I mean, this team looks cracked just looking at it all around. Like, yeah, super team. Not really much to say about this team. Like,
Yeah, I mean, once Kyron gets healthy, there's potentially trade value there. If Palmer continues what he's been doing, you said you're 2-4.
And you have Stafford as a decent handcuff for Watson.
Taylor hasn't played, and Amon-Ra has been out a little bit, and Ayuk missed a week. So now that you're fully healthy, hopefully Deshaun plays this week, and things should be looking up.
Yeah,
I like Flowers a lot too this week. This feels like a positive matchup. Detroit's played in a couple shootouts already.
Yeah. If you want to give your try to maybe upgrade your tight end spot, if anything, maybe your quarterback, but I think those two spots are fine in themselves to give yourself even better depth. Like, solid team. Emphasizing what Grant said as well. Moving forward here, we got Fields, Barkley, Swift among us, Zay Flowers, Dallas Goedert, Jahmyr Gibbs. With Chase, Nico, and Hubbard on the bench. With Christian
This
Kirk.
could backfire, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs scores a touchdown this week. Lock it in.
Too.
All right.
I would put my reputation on the line and say that Jahmyr Gibbs scores this week. Craig Reynolds sucks. Like just seeing that guy on the field is depressing. He had a crazy block this week, but aside from that, I'm out on his ability to run the football. He had 11 carries this week for 15 yards, and Gibbs this season has looked good with the ball. He just hasn't really been given those opportunities. So if Montgomery is out this week, I think Gibbs goes over that projection of 15.6.
Yeah, I think just because like if you have Gibbs on your team, start him this week. Like it's been so frustrating for Gibbs owners up to this point. Like this is the week you got to throw him in there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. But like, what gives you such confidence? You just think he's just gonna get there? Just be like, screw you, Craig. We're giving Gibbs all the volume.
I think he's sneaky upset, and he's probably been voicing a little bit of frustration. The team's all playing well, and
Yeah,
the
screw
vibes are
you
high in that
guys. You
locker room. But
picked me
he's
at
like,
12 and
he's like,
gave me a
he's like,
big
coach, I just want a touchdown.
contract.
He's like, I just want a touchdown, coach. Is that too much to ask for? Like, I'm giving my
Hey,
all for this
Dan.
team.
Hey,
Just
Dan.
let me bring that ball home to my grandma. And then with Montgomery out, Reynolds hasn't really shown a whole lot when he's actually had the ball. So, I mean, Baltimore is a decent run defense too, but it's nothing too scary. And he's going to be outside the tackles. He's going to be catching balls. If he plays and Montgomery doesn't, I am confident in that projection. Other than that, I mean, I'm out. But
Yeah. And I agree that Bijan was a huge pick for the Falcons and Gibbs was a crazy pick for the Lions because, as we can see here, we have no idea what they're doing with him. But we'll see if Gibbs delivers this weekend. I think Baltimore's decent. I might even I wouldn't put in Christian Kirk because I don't really like. Everyone's injured at this point. I don't even know who to truly start anymore. If they're healthy, they're on the field. But overall, this team's very solid. You technically want better running back depth, but I understand you have Achon chilling out here on the sidelines along with like Hubbard. But like you technically want better running back depth behind Swift and Barkley here because that is your real weak point. Because we know that Gibbs isn't going to always be sustainable for you. Whereas the receiving core is actually pretty deep for the most part, and you can kind of shift in and out of that accordingly. So if anything, I'd offer up a different running back to have as a backup there. Let's see here. Jackson, Eckler, Warren. I was about to say the receiving core has to be decent here. I'd imagine this league is probably not as deep as I initially thought. Just because you have two different players sitting on bye weeks here that are pretty integral to this lineup. I mean, yeah, this is just like a stars and then like scrubs style bench where just like the like actual lineup is really crazy, especially in a super flex league like this is. And the bench is just very, very weak. That's really my note for this team. Very, very strong team overall from a starting standpoint. But the bench is very weak for weeks like this when you're on buys. You can't really put in anybody that you feel super confident in starting to get you over like 8 fantasy points. Yes, DB, we do all forms of leagues. But we don't always know what we're talking about. I'll admit that. IDP leagues.
we know ball. Don't sell yourself short, Will.
We know ball. Swole.
Prediction strike.
Swole. We know ball. Like that thing. Yeah. That. Nice. But yeah, that's really about it. Like flex isn't ideal, running back's not ideal, but like you're battling a week off essentially. But normally you have more pieces than not that can fill in to adequate accordingly on this. But I think it's a fine team. Let's see here. Herbert, Brandon Robinson, Rashad White, Amon St. Brown, Amari Cooper, TJ Hawkinson, Brandon Ayuk. With Ridley, Downs, and Pollard. Yeah, I mean, it's just another, like, really strong team. Like, I know it's annoying how we consistently say really strong team, and I'm very repetitive in myself, but, like, the big issue is, like, these are all really strong teams. It's just there's injuries that make this and bye weeks that make it fun. Like,
You think we're like Rashad White is a good enough piece behind Pollard here for them? I mean, I guess they got Chuba and Roshan who are kind of positive assets right now for sure.
yeah, it's just, like, Pollard and B-Rob's more than enough for me. And then, like, I don't know, you can't really even say to sell Amari Cooper because it's like Deshaun Watson's not there, so it's like he's not necessarily fully sustainable. I don't know. Like I just like the team. I just don't see it being like a full-on league when it doesn't have that. Even though that wasn't really English. Yeah, I don't know. I just like you put in Tony Pollard, it becomes a very strong team. Amari Cooper isn't particularly somebody I'm super worried about. Like Brandon Ayuk's going to get a lot more run. Calvin Ridley's going to be good. I guess in theory, like build up your your running back room a little bit more, just because you're pretty full on wide receivers here. Um, but it's kind of what White once they announce he plays. Would you start Roshan Johnson over Rashad White if Roshan Johnson plays this weekend?
Um, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird spot. Deontay got obviously the biggest portion of the workload this weekend, and it's yet to be seen whether Roshan could be like an every down back. It seems like right now they like using him in kind of that complementary role, and I could see him and Deontay both being effective this weekend. So it's kind of hard to tell. I think if he gets fully cleared and is announced that he's not on a snap count, I would potentially look to start him over Rashad White. We've seen Atlanta kind of bottle up a lot of running backs in the past few weeks, so that's one that I would potentially look at.
I mean, Vito, if this is your team, I like it, but there's not really too much we would change about it. But moving on here, we got Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley, Mark Andrews, DK Metcalf, with no one really noteworthy sitting on the bench here. I'd be trying to sell out of Zach Moss to a degree, but even at this point, you can't really do that. I like the starting lineup here. Just, I don't like anything really on the bench. I would consider tearing down from Lamar Jackson, if anything. And even that, I don't even think you need to do. Like, I just think once this lineup's all starting, it's more than fine. But, like, I don't really like anything on the bench outside of Purdy and Moss. The rest, I think, are realistically droppable. Any thoughts from you guys on this team?
Doing something on Discord right now.
You, Gucci. Like, I just don't really see how a world where Chark, Mims, Lazard, and Joker are really going to help you with your starters that you have in play here. That's just me, though. But we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, the bench potentially go get some guys on waivers this week that can compete for some spots because there's not much depth there. I mean, your starting lineup looks great, but there's none of those guys on the bench that you're really going to be too confident throwing in there for a week or something. So,
yeah. What would you prefer, Jacobs and Ayuk or Bijan and Flowers?
probably the second.
Yeah.
Let's
I mean, it depends on the size of your league. If you start Ayuk and Jacobs and you have to start both Flowers and Bijan or something, I mean, I like
Ayuk's just more
than Flowers
interesting
in
when
general,
Debo's not playing, type deal.
Yeah,
Let's see here.
I like the Bijan side though.
We have Hurts, JT, Cook, Hill, Puka, Hawk, Pittman. With Purdy as your other QB, you got Mixon, D-Hop, and a bunch of others on the bench here. I mean, the running back spot's the technical spot that's weak. It's just not like you can really build up / trade out of it in any sense right now.
Yeah, Mixon on the bench too. I feel
That's what
and
I'm saying.
Kyron
Like Mixon and Kyron are fine realistically.
totally. Yeah, I think there's plenty of good matchups between the four running backs in the core they have to like switch those in and out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, even your receivers are realistically fine. Like, you can't really build up anything too much more. If anything, do some 2-for-1s to, like, take his position forward. Like, James Cook and Joe Mixon are fine. Like, James Cook, Joe Mixon, and Kyron Williams are all trade pieces, in my opinion, to build out that running back spot a little bit further if you want, but entirely up to you and what you believe is good. But we will move forward. We have Kirk 2 Chains, Christian McCaffrey. We have Javonte Williams, who I can't really understand for the life of me. Like, is he relevant? Is he not relevant? I am confusion. Amon St. Brown, Drake London, Darren Waller, Calvin Ridley. Garrett Wilson's vibing on the bench for Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne. I don't really think holding on to both of those is necessary for your team here. I'd be willing to sell whichever one caught the higher premium, potentially. I'd prefer to sell someone on my roster here, though, than Addison, though, to be honest with you. I.e. like Drake London. I don't know. I'd just be trying to build up this RB2 because I look at like Javonte Williams and I just don't think that's somebody that's, I wouldn't say worth having on my roster, but I guess worth having on my roster. What are your guys' thoughts on this team here? Anything that you would kind of change or do for them? Because the only thing I can see is like the RB2 spot.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the hammer. Or, dude, hit. God damn. Okay, but you got it right. Like Javonte is not a sustainable RB2. Miles Sanders is, I mean, kind of we were hoping he would be at the beginning of the season. Isn't really looking like an RB2 at all. Maybe not even a consistent flex option. So I would definitely try to make a trade for someone new at running back.
I would even start Roschon this week, probably, assuming he's fully healthy. And if not, then I would probably start Deontay.
Yeah, and I think even though it wasn't an amazing week for the Vikings receiving core, which you have both of Osborne and Addison following last week, but I think they're still
going to command a lot of volume.
Exactly, yeah.
Like nothing to really be too interested / too worried about.
And also command they'll command trade value right now, which is also good in the event that the Vikings don't really pan out at all in the wide receiver QB department this year.
Trying to check on my fantasy hockey team here, and I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know if like my guy's ever going to even be on the puck or whatever it is here. Puck, is that it? Ooh, he was on the I don't know what I'm even saying here. He had a shift. I don't know. Anyways, moving on to the next team. Let's see here. We got Patrick Mahomes, Alvin Kamara, Zach Moss, Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk, Michael Pittman. With Chase and Thielen chilling on your bench, with James Conner and Jeff Wilson on IR. Running back spot's weaker. You are very, very fine on wide receiver depth. I'd be trying to build my RB2 here. Just because like Thielen and Chase are great. I think Mixon is a fine substitute. But I think you get something even more strong to fill in for this RB2 slot. And I'd be willing to ship off Kirk. I'd be willing to ship off Thielen. Recently, Kirk, Thielen, Moss, potentially even Mixon are all options to throw on the table. I prefer not to throw away Mixon if I don't have to, though. But those are really my kind of thoughts on the guys that you can vie for a little bit on this specific roster here with the pasta. But we'll move on to the next team. We got Russell Wilson, who has not been cooking. Zach Moss, Jerome Ford, Cortland Sutton, Christian Watson, T.J. Hawkins, and Cole Kmet. This feels like a deep league.
Get Brees. I guess he's on bye, yeah.
Brees is on bye. Justin Jefferson is on IR. This team has just had the worst go of it. It would be my guess. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if this team had Nick Chubb. It just doesn't look like the best draft.
You've done a good job getting the guys to keep you afloat a little bit, though. I mean, with Moss, Ford, Kyron, guys that are probably high priority waiver ads.
Reynolds
early on
and
in the
Jaden
season.
Reed as well have been helpful.
Yeah, you've done what you could with the opportunities that were kind of presented, but at this point, yeah, you just need to pray Jefferson comes back and Kyron and Brees keep up the positive work we've seen the last few weeks. So
I'd trade out of Justin
those
Jefferson
guys slotted
for
in, the
this
team looks a lot better. But definitely some receiver help necessary.
I'd tear down off of Justin Jefferson to try to build this team up a little bit forward.
Yeah,
for sure.
Brees is obviously going to come back. I would be willing to move out on Kyron at this point. I'm fine having Brees and Ford as my starters. I'd be selling Brees. I mean, I wouldn't be selling Brees. I'd be selling Justin Jefferson. I don't want to be giving up TJ Hawkinson. I doubt anybody's really in the market for Cole Kmet, but potentially they are. I just highly doubt it.
Nobody's in the market for Kmet.
Nobody's in the market for. Who am I kidding? I would just try to build up the receiver depth like they're saying. I think you can realistically throw in a Zach Moss slightly, maybe like Kyron. Just Kyron and Justin Jefferson should realistically be able to land you a lot in terms of equity you can kind of use to replenish this soup that is a team. Because it's just a blend of a couple decent pieces and then just like throw up. That just happened. And it happens sometimes. But yeah, I would really just not be opposed to. You're somehow 5-0, it's a 12, or 5-1, it's a 12 man. Yeah, I'd be selling out of Justin Jefferson and Kyron then, just because like you need to fix some of these holes here. Because Cortland said Christian Watson won't be sustainable. I don't see Zach Moss being able to hold value. I don't see Cole Kmet being a sustainable flex spot.
I agree on selling Kyron, I guess, but if you're 5-1, like you said, you can afford a couple losses while you wait for Jefferson. So unless you get like a good offer, I mean, I wouldn't rush.
Jetta's not coming back, bro.
Yeah. I mean, after a win this way, I think he has a chance. I think if they win 2 more games while he's out, he will come back.
Well, we got to see exactly how it plays out. I would just try to get more sustainability on this specific roster if I could. And I think Kyron and Justin Jefferson are the pieces to theoretically move out of to make that happen. That's about it, though. But as you pointed out, yeah, like he's got plenty of room to theoretically run as well. So time
if they're 4-5 and he is eligible to come back and he doesn't, he's soft as hell.
Welcome to the new football league, the No Fun League. See if I have
especially with games after that of the Saints, Broncos, Bears, and Raiders coming up, they could be like 8-4.
It could.
True. Guys, if you're looking to get your team rated like this, just join our Discord, which the link for is in the bio of our TikTok. And you just send me a direct message at Jamario Moon once you're in there, and I will get you set up to get your team rated.
Right on. All right. I think one of my guys did something here. Oh, my guy actually scored a goal that I drafted.
Oh, let's go.
Who's your guy?
Jeff Skinner.
No idea who that is.
No idea either, but I drafted him in my fantasy hockey thingy. And he scored for me. So, point me. Yay. But moving back to things actually that are important here. Justin Herbert, Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, like, this is a super team at this point. Like, the bench is the only, like, question mark. Because, like, Jag, this guy right here, is just a jag. You got OBJ, who's fine. Conqueror's just not turning in anything. Everett's... Like, I think these realistically are both, like, cuttable on this team here. To chase upside, Everett and Conqueror, but I think it's fine to hold whatever you want to do. I just be cycling through for defenses with one of these at least.
Majority of the bench feels a little cuttable.
Yeah. I do think Tony's going to have a bigger role still with time. I just don't know what's going on with Dotson. I wish I did, but I really just don't. And I wouldn't say it's sad. I'd just say I'm confused. Like, that's really all it is. I'm genuinely just confused.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was big on Jahan coming in. I don't really know what's good.
They hate us. That's all it is. They just hate us. Um, yeah, that's really it. Cut Justice Hill. I just don't see like a viable reason to have any of the Baltimore running backs when you have Lamar Jackson in that same lineup. But overall, like this is another stars and scrub thing where the stars are great, but the bench is just very underwhelming. Um, but I really like the starting lineup here. It's just like those weeks that you don't have every single starter, you're really going to be hurting yourself.
Yeah, but if you can just make it to the playoffs and you're mostly healthy, then I like your chances.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't really sell out on Jerry Judy either right now. Like,
If he gets traded to a team like Kansas City or something that
yeah, but
hasn't
Steve
had
Smith
successful
Sr.'s
wide
not letting
receiver
him
play,
get
I would
traded
sell
anywhere.
high. What?
Steve Smith
Chargers.
Sr.'s not letting him get traded anywhere. Just remember that. So if any team calls him,
But I don't even know if necessarily he's going to be that great wherever he goes. But if he goes to a team with a really good offense, potentially sell high there.
yeah, that's really all you can do. Yeah, like the bench is just they're waiting for this group of crops to grow right here, and it's so far looking like it's a dead thumb, but we'll see. Whoa, alrighty.
Whoa.
Assuming
going
this
on.
is a, I was gonna say I'm assuming this is a dynasty league, but I can't tell. I'm assuming that's what it is. So we got Watson, Jacobs, Kyron, Chase, Wilson, Zay, Ingram, Debo, CD. So the whole entire team's on the bye week right now.
Shout out Philip Rivers on the bench, though.
Yeah,
big
Philip
get.
Rivers chilling on the bench there. That's a nice long investment.
I mean, it's a cool team.
I just don't know the format for it. I'm assuming it's Dynasty would be my guess.
Yeah.
Even though I don't see anything about like round picks or anything along those lines. It's a very solid, fun team. Just need to know what the true league format is for it. If it's Dynasty Superflex, which is what I'm assuming it is, it's a fine team. Unfortunately for you, it's looking like Anthony Richardson is likely going to be out for a little bit of time here. You just need to figure out if you're going true win now or what you're doing. Because without a knowledge of your picks and so on, can't really tell you how to theoretically go win now. But that's
I think if you're not in, if you decide you're not in win now mode, maybe sell Debo. He's the guy that I see his kind of position going forward deteriorating a little bit.
Yeah.
All the other guys are young and will continue to be good, but he's the one that I would see having the biggest fall off potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Chris Brooks is ever going to do for your roster, but
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah, not really too much, and you can't really sell too much for equity in terms of draft capital that you want to, anyways, right now. But up to you for how you want to conduct this roster. Moving on, though, we have Matthew Stafford, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, Drake London, A.J. Brown, Mark Andrews, Jacoby Myers, Aaron Jones. With Chase and Wilson on a bye. I mean, it's a more than fine roster. You're normally going to have Jones filling in up top. I'm just not big on Ramondre, even though he's one of the few that's still healthy. That would be like my only like real change, and that's technically in the flex department because I think your receivers more often than not are elite. And your flexes realistically are more than fine too. Another very, very solid roster. Nothing really.
Yeah, in like 3 weeks you'll be looking at Fields, Aaron Jones, Walker, Chase, A.J. Brown, Mark Andrews, Jacoby / like Roshan or Drake London, and then you'll have Achon back in there. So, I mean, once you're fully healthy and you have all the right guys in there, this team's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see. But moving forward,
Guys, we only have one more team lined up, so if you've already hit me in the Discord, make sure you've followed my instructions and everything. And even if we don't get you on this one tonight, we'll get you on the next one. We have room for a few more teams, I believe, tonight. So
Yeah, we'll probably see you tomorrow.
If not,
as
we'll
well.
see you guys tomorrow, or you can just listen to me annoy Jackson and Grant with whatever weird theory I come up with next. But for now,
For this team, we got Matthew Stafford, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin, Javonte Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, Laporta, Downs, and then on the bench we got Donta Foreman, Tank Dell, Jamison Williams, Gus Edwards, Miles Sanders, and Anthony Richardson.
yeah.
What do you think? Do you think Miles Sanders ever picks it up at all this year? He's kind of the weird one I see here.
He was somebody I actually kind of expected to surprise a lot of people this year, not because I was expecting the talent to be like, oh my god, he's actually like extremely talented, blah blah blah. No. I was just expecting him to get like 5 targets per game or something like that.
Same. And Carolina last year ran the ball a ton, and Frank Reich has always run the ball a ton in Indy, so it just seemed like a perfect storm for
Especially
a
with
lot
a
of
rookie
volume
quarterback. Especially with a
Yeah.
rookie quarterback. I was like, this seems like a pretty good layup. It's not like, oh, it was a contract for like 2 years. It was a 4-year long contract. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I think this might be something we're like not overrating, but like undervaluing a bit. And it just has yet to come to fruition in any sort of sense of the word, which is very interesting to me. But yeah, no, to put it, sum it up, just very disappointing this season so far. Just like this running back room realistically is here on this team. Like, it's just, you can't really pivot too far away from it either, because it's like your receiver room really isn't too deep. You can't use Anthony Richardson like we were telling a lot of people to do in a trade package. Albeit we got pretty fortunate with the timing when we were telling people to do that. But that's just kind of where we're at now. And you can't really change out of it, so you kind of just got to hold the line and see how this plays out. Just because, like, as your Miles Refrigerator is pointing out here, Javonte really isn't startable. It's hard to start him in this format, so it's going to put a lot of, like, shortcomings for this specific roster. So, just to put it lightly, you've got a solid like receiving core, but like your running backs and your flex option just really isn't to the degree that you want it to be. Unfortunately, you caught the wrong hand of the side of the stick here with the Anthony Richardson timing. Otherwise, we'd be telling you to sell Richardson to build up your running back core / flex spot. But we'll see exactly how the waiver wire market treats this team. And would you go with London or Watson this week? I personally would be going with Watson.
yeah, I'm going Christian Watson this week.
Yep. Hopefully Drake London kind of builds off of this past week though, and that can be more of the norm. But I mean, I don't see Desmond Ridder throwing for 300 too often in the future. But
You're telling me he's not a future Hall of Famer?
first home loss since junior year of high school.
That's crazy, actually. It's gotta mess with your mental after a while.
That's
Like-
such a weird stat, but I mean, I guess the Cincinnati wasn't really in the toughest conference, so he got some easier home games there. But
That
still
would
crazy.
mess with my head like crazy.
Get Taylor Heineke in the game.
I think so. But going to this team here, we got Lamar Jackson, Jesus Christ, terrible naming on my part here. Apologies. Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey, Puka Nakua, Jalen Waddle, Dallas Goedert, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Calvin Ridley. Kind of, yeah. I mean, your team's stacked here. Nothing really else to say. In theory, go trade for some true wide receiver ones for your teams here. You could easily, realistically go get Cooper Kupp for this roster. Yeah, it's just more than stacked. If anything, even like build up a more consistent flex spot. But yeah, you just take one step forward and turn this into a super team. Not going to sit on this one at all. Let's see here. Fix this real quick. We got Justin Herbert, Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Christian Watson, Michael Pittman, Jameer Gibbs, George Pickens, with Brees and Nico, and that's really the super significant guys with a Chubb injury. Yeah, I think this team's more than fine. Like, you typically just have other people fitting in for your flex spot here that just aren't this week, and I think that's more than fine. Like, your receiver depth is okay. It's not great. It's okay. But we'll see how it kind of progresses forward. I always forget that there's two flexes in ESPN leagues now sometimes, so, like, Jameer Gibbs also isn't really optimal for me. And you can't really be trading out of Kirk or Justin right now because they each have their own issues. So in theory, I'd try to improve my wide receiver / flex option here for this spot because I just don't trust Gibbs at this rate. But I believe that is our last team here. What's up?
This is Gibbs week.
This is Gibbs week.
For real.
According to
We
Grant,
shall see.
this is Gibbs week. I don't know if I'm a believer, but who knows? Maybe my brain will be changed.
I mean, I'm on board. Like, I'm definitely on board, Grant. I don't think I have enough to say confidently that there will be a Gibbs touchdown, but I think it's just going to be an above average Gibbs week for sure.
I just think it's gonna be a moment where like they're all flying high. You know, they let's say they're up
They
up
do
10 against
something.
Baltimore at the end of the game, and Dan's like, you know what, Jameer, get on the field. He goes out there, he scores his touchdown.
I'll give you
All
a
his boys-
chance.
all his boys are hugging him, jumping on him. One of them runs, grabs the ball for him. It's just I just want to see some nice.
Come here, my
camaraderie
sweet little Gibby. I'll give you a chance
Yeah.
to run the ball.
Exactly,
You could do
exactly.
it all along.
Exactly. Maybe the defense just doesn't even try to tackle him. They all just stand there and they let him run in.
You
They
know,
guide him to the end zone.
Maybe Aiden Hutchinson plays tight end this week. I think there's a chance for that. They're just like,
mean,
we've shown
that
your
would be
parents enough times on TV. Let's give them something to really cheer for. You're going to run a go
Feel
route.
good team.
But yeah. Anyways, appreciate everyone popping on this stream. Appreciate all the likes, the gifts, and the follows. We will likely be back on tomorrow for another hour, 15, hour 20 or so. Rating your guys' various teams. If you guys want to join the Discord, the link to that is in the bio. That's where people get first access to get their teams rated here. The DM our guy Jackson at Jamario Moon on the Discord, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team rated. Now, for those who didn't get to see their team on this specific stream and thought it was going to be aired in this stream, it probably was. And you guys can check that on our YouTube. Link to that is also in the bio, where you guys can see the playbacks of each one of these. And if you didn't see it in that specific playback or in any of the others, then I encourage you to DM our guy Jackson in the Discord at Jamario Moon, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team rated. But appreciate every single one of you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful night, and we will talk to you guys later.